Hello, um, my name is Alexander Benoni, and today I'm going to be, I had a kind of like depressing interview earlier today with a guy who, I don't know, let's just say he wasn't my favorite. And we talked about, he wasn't a bad person, but the conversation that we were talking about was like unfortunate, and basically we're all screwed. So, I don't know, I wanted to think about something that made me feel better. So, we're going to be talking today about one of my favorite historical figures, Theodora, the Empress of the Byzantine Empire from 527 to 548 AD. So, let's begin. And maybe, I don't know, if people find this inspirational. Some people, it's just like a cool story. The information that I say will not be 100% true. Firstly, because most of the experts on this period and people who wrote in this period disagree about what happened. So, a lot of the information is based on hearsay and interpretation. But the core elements of the story seem to be true. So, yeah. So, Theodora was born, we don't know where, probably somewhere in modern day Turkey, maybe somewhere in Greece, maybe somewhere in Israel, modern day Syria, or Lebanon, around that area. But she soon after being born emigrated to Constantinople, where she was a part of a. So there were these like circuses, festivals, sports things that would occur in these places called hippodromes. And the Hippodrome of Constantinople, imagine like a very open area where like sports and acting and things happened. So that was a big part of Byzantine culture and Byzantine politics at the time. And there were four factions. I could so be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's the Reds, Whites, Greens, and Blues. And Theodora's father was in the Green faction, and her father died. Her mother remarried to someone in the Green faction again, but then the Greens decided to not keep her stepfather's job. So her stepfather lost his job working for the Greens, unfortunate for him. So their mother decided to sell her daughters, including Theodora. She had one older sister and one younger sister, to work for the Greens. Now, because they were young women, primarily what they were doing was acting, but their acting consisted of performing favors for many of the high-profile guests that would visit the Hippodrome. And Theodora acquainted herself, according to the reports, very well in a variety of different ways, using all of the tools at her disposal. Though, it must be mentioned, so there's this guy called Procopius, and Procopius does not have a very good, or not very many good things to say about Theodora and the things that she did. So he goes in detail on the various scandals that she was involved with at a young age of probably like 13 or 14. Anyway, she acquainted herself well, and she made some connections at the time. She traveled to North Africa as the concubine of a governor of Libya, and then she got into an argument with him, and she traveled around a while where she met a dancer from the Blue faction called Macedonia, who was acquainted with the new emperor, or who was going to be the new emperor, Justinian. So Theodora returned to Constantinople, where she was introduced to the future empire of the Byzantine Empire, emperor of the Byzantine Empire, Justinian. Upon meeting each other, they immediately fell for each other, and Justinian wanted to marry Theodora, but unfortunately he couldn't because there was a law that barred actors and actresses, no, yeah, actresses marrying up in their station. And also, the empress of the previous emperor, Justin, her name was Euphemia, did not like the idea of Justinian marrying an actress. So, Euphemia died, and then Justin, the emperor at the time, passed a law allowing Justinian to marry. Justin is the emperor, Justinian will be the new emperor. Justin passed a law that allowed Justinian to do what he wanted. So Theodora then marries into the royal family, and at this time she has an illegitimate daughter. This illegitimate daughter would go on to marry another relative of Justinian in the royal family. And this kind of indicates like the start of Theodora's journey as a political and court mastermind, where she uses her connections and her charisma to build a network, and a very stable, powerful, intricate network of people who are loyal to her and connected by blood. Yeah, so there are some scandals that we don't really need to get into, but now we can get into the meat of her life. So, as Empress, Theodora was incredible. To start off with, at the beginning of their reign, there were these Nika riots. And the Nika riots were the blues and greens felt disenfranchised they felt slighted by Justinian, it was the greens who felt slighted by Justinian. And then there was an incident where they had to hang some of the greens and the blues, and a green and a blue survived the hanging. And when the Emperor Justinian did not pardon those who survived, the two factions, the Greens and the Blues, united and formed a rebellion. So Mr. Justinian and all of his court officials were extremely scared, and they wanted to flee the city. And Theodora, even her most vocal critic at the time, had this to say about her, or said that she said this: "My lords, the present occasion is too serious to allow me to follow the convention that a woman should not speak in a man's council. Those whose interests are threatened by extreme danger should think only of the wisest course of action, not of conventions. In my opinion, flight is not the right course, even if it should bring us to safety. It is impossible for a person having been born of this world not to die, but for one who has reigned, it is intolerable to be a fugitive. May I never be deprived of this purple robe, and may I never see the day when those who meet me do not call me Empress. If you wish to save yourself, my lord, then there is no difficulty. We are rich, over there is the sea, and yonder are the ships. Yet reflect for a moment whether, when you have once escaped to a place of security, you would not gladly exchange such safety for death. As for me, I agree with the adage that the purple royal is the noblest shroud." Now, her speech is recorded in history and appeared to have the effect of rallying the entire court to her cause. So Justinian, and the conclusion may be slightly morbid, but Justinian ordered his troops to put down the rebellion, resulting in the deaths of 30,000 civilians. They were rebels, though. I'm not justifying the murder of civilians, though. Please don't take that the wrong way. I just think it's really cool that she made this speech and stood up to all these people, and then, yeah. Anyway, Theodora was also immensely involved on the political side and the power side. So she forced people to treat her as though she were the emperor as well. In ancient times, when the emperor was there, you were supposed to salute him on the right breast, and the emperor would kiss a person on the head and then dismiss them. However, the empress you did not have to salute, but in the case of Theodora, all of the members did prostrate themselves on the floor and holding their hands and feet like this. This was unprecedented, and it just goes to show the level of respect that she commanded in court. She also had people call them master and mistress. Now, in terms of some of the court schemings, there was this guy called John the Capodian, the Cappadocian, and he was a very influential and powerful politician or prefect at the time, and he was being disrespectful and slanderous of the emperor. So, Theodora and Antonina, the wife of Justinian's *1 general Belisarius, who is a goat in and of himself, I may do another video of him as well, the last great Roman general, his wife and Theodora create a plot to bring down Mr. John the Cappadocian, and they did so successfully. She was also not the biggest fan of Germanus, the cousin of Justinian, and she had a couple of allies, like another prefect called Peter Barsimes. She also engaged in a lot of matchmaking, so what I said before. So the Emperor Anastasius's family, who was pre-existing nobility and also the family of Justinian, she arranged matches with him. She attempted to marry her grandson to Anastasius to Joannina, the daughter of Belisarius and Antonia, and their heir, against her parents' will. Although the marriage was initially rejected, she eventually got away with marrying Belisarius's daughter to the family of Justinian, which was really good come the future. The marriages of her older sister, who also worked with her in the brothel, to the general Citas, and her niece, Sophia, to Justinian's nephew, Justin II, who would then become the new emperor. Basically, she had her fingers everywhere. She was getting her family and everyone's family to be so mixed in blood that they could never even possibly think of betraying them. And she did so incredibly successfully. But let's get into some more cool stuff. So, Theodora is probably one of the first feminists to ever exist and also be successful, immensely successful. Theodora was involved in helping underprivileged women. So in one instance, she forced the general Artabanes, who intended to wed Justinian's niece, to reclaim the wife that he was abandoning for that. Now, that could also be seen as a political move so that she could then do her stuff there and not have this guy tied up, but, you know, it is what it is. She also freed prostitutes. She made a convent on the Asian side of the Dardanelles called the Metanoia, where ex-prostitutes could support themselves. Around 500 prostitutes went there. She also had a history of freeing young girls from the yoke of wretched slavery. In 528, Theodora and Justinian ordered the closure of brothels and the arrest of their keepers and procurers. To facilitate the start of their new lives, she supplied the liberated women with clothing and gifted them each a gold nomisma. I have no idea what that is, because I'm reading this off Wikipedia, because, yeah, I can't remember all of this, but I know that she's super cool. And she just generally seems to have a history of helping women in need. Now, my legend and goat, Procopius, the guy who was, discrediting her earlier for providing various millions of services to various men at the time, he says he criticizes Theodora because he caused women to become morally depraved due to her legal actions. So that's my goat right there. I'm just kidding. He's not my goat. Very disrespectful to Theodora, the legend. There was also this kind of conspiracy that a lot of people see where Theodora she believed in the religion, which is Christological, that Christ was both a divine entity and a normal human. This was opposed to Justinian, who believed something else that I can't remember. Now, they made this like division between them very public, and it was a feud in the public eye. However, a lot of people think that they artificially manufactured this feud so that both of them could control both sides of the religious argument. So yeah, she also, in keeping with her religious beliefs, helped in assisting church building projects and supporting the poor. Her involvement was documented as being instrumental to the protection of various religious minorities. She founded different sects and churches for different people. And yeah, due to her actions, many violent revolts were suppressed, and many people were given resources, food, water, etc., that they would have otherwise not had access to. So she really dedicated a lot of her life to, well, scheming in court, but also helping others. And it's just incredible that even her most staunch criticizers still see her as this figure who went out of her way to help others. Yeah. And after a life of securing Justinian's legacy, helping the poor, there are a lot of other things that she did. She helped in the reconstruction of the Hagia Sophia. Let me see, I think I have like a list here. She increased penalties for sexual violence and trafficking. She also let women have the right to divorce men, which was huge, and supported women doing that. She built many buildings. She helped formalize the court, added to its prestige. She orchestrated alliances. She is just one of the most impressive figures I find throughout history. And she didn't do anything like, her main criticizers see her as a vindictive and power-hungry woman. But what she did for her people, she did get 30,000 of them murdered, but maybe she prevented the fall of the Byzantine Emperor, and you can argue that was for the best, but that's utilitarianism, whatever. She dedicated most of her reign to helping those who were less privileged, providing for those who could not provide for themselves. And I just think that it's incredible that someone who was born into her situation rose to be one of the most powerful people in the world at the time and influence an entire nation and help tens of thousands of people. And she died in 548, likely due to breast cancer, and she was then made a saint, I believe. Is that a lie? Doesn't say here. I'm remembering that wrong. Let me just check real quick. Yes, she is venerated as a saint in Eastern traditions. But yeah, that's my goat. That's Theodora. And, not all of that was entirely accurate. But I hope that Theodora's message resonates with some people, and I hope that people can remember that no matter who you are and where you come from, you can still do amazing things in the world. So, have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.